Would you please rise for the arrival of His Excellency the Right Honorable David Johnston, Governor General of Canada. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir votre animateur, l'auteur, conférencier et conseiller en médias, technologie et innovation, Monsieur Don Tapscott. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, the author, speaker, and advisor on media technology and innovation, Mr. Don Tapscott.
Welcome to Montreal. Bienvenue à Montréal. J'aimerais faire cette présentation en français, mais rapidement, les francophones ici me demanderaient de la donner en anglais. So I will be speaking in English. But I'm delighted to be here, and I'm very excited to be your host for the next 3 days. There's a fabulous program, and it's going to be an interesting discussion. The theme is the promise, fulfilling the promise of the digital age. And being a Canadian, I reflect back on my own experience on thinking about this. In the mid-1970s, I was working at Canada's Bell Labs. It was called Bell Northern Research. And we had this crazy view that everyone would use computers. And that computers were not essentially tools for data processing, they were tools for communications. Well, nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come again. And when you think about the promise of the digital age, I'd like to suggest to you this modest proposition, that the promise is really to enable us to reinvent the institutions of civilization and civilization itself. If you look around the world today, it's a deeply broken place. It's not just that we have continued economic malaise. Some people talk about a 20-year slump. There's a double-dip recession in the UK and a sovereign debt crisis in Europe, and there are many different problems today. But arguably, these are all linked. The industrial age and its institutions, in my mind, have finally come to their logical conclusion. If you look around the world today, you see this incredible disparity, a contrast, a conflict between old institutions that are failing and the sparkling initiatives that are creating the new contours of a new set of institutions for civilization. Our old models of innovation and the corporation, our old models of government that really came out of the industrial age, of democracy, of science, of education. All of these are models where something in the center pushes out something to passive recipients, whether it's mass production, mass distribution, mass marketing, mass democracy, mass education. We're pushing out lectures, products, services, newspapers, radio broadcasts. Well, now with the internet, we have a communications medium that's very different. You see, the old technology that we've had, originally the industrial age of the printing press, and then radio, television, broadcast, and even the early days of information technology were all centralized. They were one way. They were sort of one size fits all. They were controllable. I mean, I've heard the expression freedom of the press is a great idea, especially if you own a press. But they were also relegated people to being the recipients, to being passive. Well, we now have a new medium. And it's the antithesis of all of that, and that's what we're talking about at this conference. It's one-to-one. It's many-to-many. It's not centralized. It's highly distributed. People can be active now. They can participate in the economy and in our society in ways that are unthinkable. And this new medium has an awesome neutrality. It will be what we want it to be. And if we want it to be a platform to find a cure for AIDS, or to move to a new model of democracy, or to discover the heavens as 275,000 amateur astronomers are doing as part of Galaxy Zoo, it will be that. If we want it to be a tool to organize against public education, as some are doing, it will be that. If we want it to be a platform to commit acts of unthinkable evil, it will be that. So, my hope is that there are more good people than bad people. And I've I look around the world today and I see a lot of problems, but I've never been more inspired and never more optimistic. And if we come together and bring our values, our legitimate aspirations about the future, maybe the promise of the digital age will be one that's fulfilled, and the peril can be unrequited. We're going to have a very interesting conversation in the next 3 days, and I look forward, I'll be up here on the stage interacting with you, and I look forward to the opportunity of meeting all of you. It is my great honor now to introduce our first speaker, the Governor General of Canada, David Johnston. For those of you from other countries, the Governor General is the Queen's representative. And David has an illustrious history, which I won't go through. He's a truly great Canadian. But I will tell you one pertinent story, that back in the early 1990s, before most people had heard of the word internet, our Prime Minister in Canada, named Jean Chrétien, created an advisory group on the information highway, as it was called. Eventually, it started talking about this thing called the internet. And this brought together people from the public, private sector, civil society organizations, and they mapped out a vision that was quite instrumental. Was actually, big parts of it were implemented in this country, and it was instrumental in moving Canada forward. So His Excellency, Governor General Johnston, is not just a great Canadian, he's also someone who's had a deep engagement in information technology. Please join with me in welcoming His Excellency, David Johnston.
Thank you very much, Don, Monsieur Morin, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Koo, dear participants. I'm so delighted to be with you here this morning because, as Don has said, I have a great admiration and enthusiasm for what you do. Just thinking back over my lifetime, as Don was commenting upon the revolution with which we're participating and explaining to people of my age what this digital age means, and I often use the banking industry as an example and say, guess what's happened? The banks are very clever. They've turned us into tellers. Those of you who are 50 years or older will remember that we used to go to banks sometime between 10 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's the only time they were open, and we'd fill out a deposit slip and we'd take it to a teller and we'd wait as it was checked off, and all sorts of paper come back and forth. Equally, if we wanted to do with withdrawal money, a similar kind of process, you'd go there, you'd fill out lots of paper. The banks, of course, have turned us into tellers because we do that, first of all, with banking machines. We actually had to go to one, and now, of course, we do it remotely. It's a wonderful transformation. And just imagine how the banking industry would be functioning today if it were still wedded to paper. I'm so glad to be at this gathering because, as Don indicated, I have a great belief in the power of collaboration. And so it's with great optimism that I welcome you to Canada and to this Congress on our digital future. It would be an understatement to say we have lots to talk about. As we all know, the digital revolution has transformed whole aspects of our lives and societies. To the telescope and microscope, which enabled us to see far and small, respectively, we've added the computer and the internet, which allow us to find, gather, store, relate, and experiment, in short, to see broadly and deeply. See far, see small, see broadly, see deeply. Harnessed to the internet, the computer has made it possible for us to share and store information to an extent never before imagined. More precisely, it is estimated that we now generate and store online 2.5 exabytes of computer data every day. That means, to put it in layman's terms, that every 2 days we're uploading more data than has been printed in all of human history. Indeed, the rapid and profound changes taking place in our world today are in many ways the result of the great leaps we've made in information and communication technology. And all indications point to even greater changes to come. Consider the fact that over the course of the next 40 years, science is predicted to create more knowledge than has been created in the history of our species. As Neil Turek, director of the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics in Waterloo, Ontario, puts it, what is coming is likely to be even more significant than any past transformation. We have already seen how mobile communications and the World Wide Web are opening up global society, providing information and education on a scale vastly larger than ever before. But this is only the beginning of how our new technologies will change us. The mind boggles. And it also raises the questions, if this is just the beginning of change, how are we to prepare best for the future? A curious feature about increased connectivity is that it both enables and requires greater collaboration and enhanced innovation. And that, of course, is why you've gathered here in Montreal. Over the course of the next 3 days, you will address the many challenges and opportunities set in motion by information technologies with the aim of creating a blueprint for the future of our global digital society. Your ambition reminds me of the story of a young mathematician and engineer named Claude Elwood Shannon, who in 1948 published what has been called the Magna Carta of the information age by developing the revolutionary concept of digital transmission. For his efforts, Shannon is today known as the father of the information age. Our challenge as heirs to Shannon's digital legacy is to tackle immediate issues such as privacy, data security, media literacy, online safety, intellectual property, just to name a few. We must also focus broadly on the bigger picture: government, education, science, healthcare, society. All are being transformed because, as physicist and humanitarian Ursula Franklin eloquently put it, technology has built the house in which we all live. Simply put, each advance in our technology has a ripple effect on our culture and society. It's like a pebble being thrown into a pond of still water. Our task, therefore, is to imagine and develop ways in which technology can help us to build a smarter, more caring world. And both adjectives, smarter and more caring, are vital, and each contributes to the other. In so many ways, information and communications technologies have already changed our world for the better. As you know, citizens are everywhere defining new roles for themselves in their workplaces, their communities, their governments, all thanks to greater connectivity. The sharing of ideas, of learning, and of experiences is taking place in an unprecedented manner, often among people who otherwise would never have met. It is an exciting, at times daunting, moment in the history of humanity, full of new challenges and new opportunities. Je crois que nous pouvons entrevoir ce que nous réserve l'avenir en examinant les effets des nouvelles technologies dans la vie des jeunes. Comme l'indique un récent rapport de Fondation communautaire du Canada, les jeunes sont remarquablement branchés, éveillés et collaboratifs. Ils sont à l'aise avec les nouvelles technologies et les réseaux virtuels. Ils n'hésitent pas à contester le statu quo. Fait remarquable, 97%, 97% des Canadiens ayant entre 17 et 35 ans, between 17 and 35 years, ont un profil Facebook, have a Facebook profile. Dans l'ensemble de la population, c'est un Canadien sur deux qui utilise Facebook, ce qui illustre bien l'intérêt du Canada pour les technologies de l'information et de communication. Mais il n'y a pas que de positif à tous ces changements. Le rapport de Fondation communautaire du Canada explique aussi que les gens évoluent dans une ère de complexité et d'incertitude, qui a décalé ou même effacé les repères qui marquaient la transition entre les différentes étapes de la vie. Il y a sans doute plusieurs raisons qui expliquent la complexité et l'incertitude actuelle, mais on ne saurait nier que les technologies numériques ont accéléré notre culture, comme l'a dit l'auteur Douglas Coupland. Je vous incite à examiner, en votre qualité de dirigeant, comment nous pouvons maximiser les avantages d'une société numérique mondiale et minimiser ces désavantages non seulement pour les gens, mais pour tous les citoyens. Comment pouvons-nous créer une société numérique où l'excellence et l'égalité des chances pèsent tout autant dans la balance? Dans la société actuelle, on trouve d'excellents exemples de leadership où l'innovation sociale et l'innovation technologique vont de pair. Pensons au monde de l'éducation supérieure et à l'Université Harvard et Massachusetts Institute of Technology, qui collaborent pour offrir des cours en ligne gratuitement à toute personne qui possède une connexion Internet. Il s'agit là d'un bel exemple de la démocratisation du savoir par la technologie qui pourrait améliorer la vie des gens. I often say that that's the second great shot heard around the world. In North America, we refer to the first shot heard around the world in 1774 in Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts, the commencement of the American Revolution, or as the British would say, the War of Independence. The second great shot for democratization was that great initiative by Harvard and MIT to put all their courses, the answers, the discussions, etc., online and make it available at no cost anywhere in the world. Dramatic to think that education at that level of quality is available to anyone who can connect to the Internet. As Governor General, I've made innovation one of the priorities of my mandate. I was mentioning earlier today to a colleague from Malaysia that in my installation speech, I entitled it, A Smart and Caring Nation, A Call to Service. Again, both adjectives are important, smart and caring. And within that, three pillars, family and children, learning and innovation, philanthropy and volunteerism, and all go together. So innovation is an important priority. Innovation is a very complex term in so many ways, but it's simple to describe. Innovation is simply crafting or applying new ideas to improve the way we do things. And very often it's a constant process. It's about seeing things differently, and it's imagining that which could be. The collaborative nature of the digital world makes it an ideal place to incubate innovation. As John Gertner points out in a wonderful book, The Idea Factory, which is the story of the famous Bell Labs in New Jersey, innovation is not a one-directional process from education and research to experimentation to practical application. Rather, innovation occurs back and forth at various points along that linear storyline. It's quite messy in its movement back and forth. The term innovation ecosystem has also been used to describe this non-linear, messy approach. By extension, Gertner goes on to say innovation is not usually brought about by one person, but rather is the result of several people working on various aspects of the same problem. In short, the process of innovation is shared. With this in mind, let me close by sharing with you three elements from the coat of arms I adopted upon becoming Governor General, which may help to underline my remarks today. At the crest, there is a burning candle, symbolizing not only learning and discovery, but also the transmission of learning. The sharing of knowledge collectively enlightens us. One of my favorite metaphors is Thomas Jefferson's candle. Jefferson referred to a burning candle as the light of knowledge. And he said, when you light your unlit candle from my lit candle, my light is not diminished, it's enhanced. It grows by sharing. At the base of my coat of arms, there's a wavy band inscribed with ones and zeros representing the flow of information and digital communication. And I should say we had some fun when that came out because the code people that saw it believed that there were some intricate Da Vinci Code message there in the pluses and minuses of ones and zeros that if only one could sleuth carefully enough, one would find the answer. Well, the search continues. Maybe there is something there if one can just find it with care. And finally, the motto on that coat of arms is Contemplare Meliora, meaning to envisage a better world, to dream of a better world, to dream of that which ought to be. My favorite couplet from George Bernard Shaw goes this way: some people see things as they are and wonder why. We dream of things that ought to be and ask why not. I hope you have a wonderful time here in Montreal and that your World Congress on Information Technology is fruitful and rewarding in every possible sense. I now declare the World Congress on Information Technology open. Merci.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We're very fortunate in this country to have such a great leader as our Governor General. And clearly innovation is part of the promise, and it's also part of how we will fulfill the promise as well. Next, I'd like to invite to the stage Dato Danny Koo, who is the president of WITSA. This is the World Information Technology Services Alliance, which is the parent organization for all of these events. Mr. Koo, please.
Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Op, 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 op. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Op, 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 op. Oppan Gangnam Style.
Your Excellency, the Governor General, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I won't be performing the Gangnam Style dance for you today. I don't have the moves. But Don May, I was speaking with him early this morning, and he was actually demonstrating how the horse dance could be done. So maybe we could convince him afterwards. But if I did, I would be using channels or platforms that all of us have grown accustomed to, like YouTube, Meta Cafe, or Blip TV. That could gain me instant fame. Psy of Gangnam Style did it. His video racked up 500 million hits within 3 months on YouTube. Potentially, all of us could be the next Psy, because we have equal access to the same digital opportunities as he does. Indeed, many others have reaped the rewards of digital access. Kabila Abdul Hassan from the state of Sabah in Malaysia grew a seaweed-based business income from a humble $150 to almost $7,000 a month when her daughter took that business to the internet and started getting orders from China and Japan. Their stories join thousands of others, narratives of the power of the digital opportunity once access is granted to broad swaths of society. In that regard, Oppa, by the way, if you're wondering, in the Oppa Gangnam Style, actually means older brother, as my Korean colleagues would be able to confirm. To me, however, it is also my acronym for opportunity access. It is the most common approach advocated and taken by government, industry, and philanthropy in fulfilling the promise of the digital age. Advocates of OPA lobby for better infrastructure, more supply, grants, training, certification, and capital to more people. They often cite device penetration rates, number of users, percentage of households with broadband, cost of bandwidth, and program participation rates as measures of success. Indeed, we are often told that anywhere from 2.3 to 2.5 billion out of the 7 billion people on our planet are already connected to the internet. Roughly half of them have broadband access. At least 1 billion people are linked via mobile broadband. And according to some estimates, this current 1 billion will soon become 6 billion. The notion is that given the opportunity, like Psy, people's creativity take over. And so they do, except that it is harder to quantify the outcomes than it is the outputs. Consider the following. What good is there to have hundreds of thousands of young people equipped with e-skills if there are no jobs available in a recessionary economy? According to the ILO, the world faces an urgent challenge of creating 600 million new jobs over the next decade. Or, what benefit does it bring societal equity when 120% mobile penetration could mean that the top 40% of the income pyramid has more than one device, often 2 or 3, whilst the bottom 40% has closer to 0 on average? Now, to get closer to the aspirational aspects of the WITSER World Congress's theme, more eyes have to be on the proverbial prize of desired outcomes. I call this DOBA, Desired Outcomes-Based Approach, which in essence begins with the end in mind, and then working backwards, the best approaches, routes, and players are sought to drive relentlessly towards desired outcomes and agreed milestones. By beginning with this end in mind, it then brings about a demand centricity that attracts wealth, productivity, competitiveness, and quality of life as end goals. Popularly cited benchmarks include, for example, global B2C e-commerce that is already breaching the $1 trillion mark. And if we were to add B2B, the size of the e-commerce market then becomes $16 trillion. To get a sense of the overall digital economy, throw in the $4.4 trillion in traditional global spending for ICT products and services, and you get a round figure of about $20 trillion, or roughly 15% of global trade. Increasingly, it is seen that if nations were to target gaining a piece of this global trillion-dollar pie and work hard to get it, DOBA becomes a strategic approach to fulfilling the said promise of the digital age when constraints of time and budget become overbearing. That said, it is sometimes associated with cherry picking. Again, consider this. How can a nation take pride in a per capita income of above $20,000 when its Gini coefficient is worse than the global average of 0.65? National average high income does not mean that that income is evenly distributed. Globally, an estimated 900 million workers live with their families below the US $2 per day poverty line. So what does this mean in the context of fulfilling this digital promise? OPA or DOBA? I humbly suggest a pragmatic blend of both. In the case of my country, the government has created a digital transformation program called Digital Malaysia, which you will hear a little bit more about in the days to come, that overlays new outcome-based projects on opportunity-centric initiatives to take the country towards her 2020 aspirational goals of wealth generation, productivity enhancement, and quality of life improvement. So, over the next 3 days, as you listen to and learn from the top personalities gathered at the 18th, yes, the 18th, it's been 36 years, WITSER World Congress, you have the opportunity to absorb and then return to your respective domains as agents of change and catalysts. So be bold, make a difference, galvanize efforts towards good governance, empower enterprises, and transform lives. Help us fulfill the promise of the digital age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gupta. Actually, the video Gangnam Style is pertinent to our conversation. A video that my kids introduced to me about 6 or 7 months ago, and a few people had seen it, and now, what is it? Like 500 million people have seen this video. And the Korean government has put so much money into marketing Korea, and a single video comes along and does more than they've been able to do over many years. And of course, now the Korean government has embraced the video, and through public-private partnerships is advancing the interests of the country. New division of labor in society about how you create public value. Our next speaker is Mr. Karna Gupta, who's the president of ITAC, which is the Information Technology Association of Canada. ITAC is the organization that put together this event. Mr. Gupta.
Thank you, Don. Bonjour, mes amis. Bienvenue à Montréal. It's my hometown. I grew up here. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to welcome you today to the World Congress on Information Technology 2012. This is a very proud day for the Canadian technology sector. Indeed, ITAC is delighted to be part of this journey and welcomes the world to Montreal. A few years ago, when WCIT 2012 set out to bring this Congress to Montreal, its ambition was twofold. First, we wanted the opportunity to put Canadian technology, Canadian ingenuity, and enterprise in the spotlight. Although we're a relatively small country with 31 million people, we punch above our weight in development and use of information and communication technology tools. Our far-flung and challenging geography has made this aptitude a key requirement in building the nation. And we're planning over the next 3 days to introduce you to some of the best and the brightest individuals and companies in the forefront of digital society. Secondly, we thought it was time to bring the global IT world to Canada. And by every measure, we have fulfilled that ambition. 62 countries from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe are represented here. And they're represented superbly indeed by government ministers, by chief executives of leading companies, by professors of universities, and by distinguished writers and citizens. This is an elite gathering, and indeed it's unprecedented in Canada. Thank you to all who have come to Montreal, crossing vast distances to join us. You honor us with your participation in this Congress. I encourage you all to use this gathering as an opportunity not only for business development, but also for personal and professional growth. We're very proud of outstanding program of speakers we have assembled here, but we're also very proud of the caliber of our delegates. I'm confident that the encounters you'll have and the conversations you'll have over the next few days will advance the evolution of our global digital society. I should mention that last June, we did have an online digital jam before this event. And on that online jam, we had 11,000 people log in from 84 different countries. And that jam created the input that forms the basis of the discussion that you'll hear today, either it's in healthcare or government services or even in smart cities and transportation. The road that led us to this podium has been long and frequently challenging. The tremendous energy and vision of the WCIT 2012 team, a truly small and a mighty team, combined with the steadfast commitment of the ITAC's Board of Directors and its Executive Committee, has made this possible. I particularly want to thank David McDonald, Doug McQuaig, Robert Watson, Jen Evans, Jim Musica, Brian Duty, and Ron Stiles for their support and generosity in every sense of the word. and I want to extend a special thanks to Jim Poisson of WITSA. Your Excellency, I'd like to thank you for so graciously accepting this invitation to open our Congress. The formation of Canada's digital society has benefited from your leadership for many years, and you continue to inspire us. When we planned this Congress, we felt we could not hold this event without you. Thank you for being here today. And now, I'd like to introduce you to the leader of WCIT 2012 team, Francois Morin. The typical project for this kind of event, WCIT Congress, takes over 36 months. And Francois stepped in 12 months ago and made miracles happen. Francois, thank you for your leadership and bringing the WCIT 2012 in Montreal a reality, a magnificent reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of WCIT 2012, Francois Morin.
Alors, enfin, on est arrivé. So, I'm happy to be here today, Votre Excellence, distingués invités et participants. As a Canadian, as a Québécois et un Montréalais, I am very proud to welcome such a distinguished gathering to Montreal. I want to thank you all for joining us in validating the vision that we have about WCIT 2012. We have worked to create a stimulating platform for the exchange of ideas, and our hopes is that the themes we discuss in the plenary sessions here will continue on your journeys home. We hope to inspire you to introduce new ideas and perspectives and to precipitate a swifter evolution of the global digital society we aspire to. Also, as business people, we believe that the best platform for exchange of ideas is commerce. So we have designed at WCIT 2012 to maximize your opportunities for business. We have maximized business development, There are 3 formal programs to facilitate this. All day tomorrow, our business-to-business program will run facilitating meetings between delegates throughout the day. On Wednesday, we have created the C200. So our C200 program will introduce export-ready ICT companies to investing firms from all around the world. And throughout the next 3 days, you'll have the opportunity to visit our exhibit area, and you'll find a key feature that is the Digital River Showcase of Canadian technology. This is an amazing interactive sound and light display that uses AR, augmented reality technology, to showcase an array of Canadian technology companies. I have a long list of people to thank, but unfortunately, I have a very short time to do it. First of all, thank you. I want to thank our sponsors and partners. This is a very long list, and it will be displayed throughout our proceedings. We are grateful to every one of them, but I must acknowledge those whose support was particularly timely and helped to make us believe we could make this project a reality. So first of all, the Government of Canada, particularly DFAIT, DEC, and Industry Canada, who supported us in so many ways, from strategic advice to on-the-ground energy of trade commissioners all around the world. Second, the province of Quebec, in a challenging fiscal climate, supported the WCIT vision. And thirdly, on the industry side, Intel, Microsoft, and Xerox are Pinnacle and Diamond sponsors. I also want to thank the WCIT 2012 team that I've worked with for the past 12 months. At its heart, it's a team of 4, like Karna mentioned. When I arrived last August, I met Mélanie Rousseau, who was doing all the marketing and promotions, partner relations, and the B2B programming. And also I met Isabelle Stengler of IS Event Solution, who has been a replaceable guide to the complexities of this international event. Also, I want to thank Anthony Williams, our program chair, who you'll meet in a moment. And I can't not thank enough Katia Gelling, who joined us earlier this year. She has been a great asset, keeping us on track and teaching us all a great deal about personal courage. Jim Poisin, Secretary General of WITSA, became a non-official official member of our team, providing useful counsel and support. And along the way, we had some reinforcements from ITAC, Micheline Lepage, Wayne Henry, Linda Leonard, of course, Janet Tite, and Karna Gupta, who was just here a minute ago. It was a great team, small but dedicated, professional and fierce in their determination to make this Congress real. I'm very proud of them and enriched by my association with them. Last but not least, I again want to thank you, all of you, who have come to Montreal to participate, to think and to share ideas. In Canada, we are a proudly multicultural society. I wish I had the capacity to thank each of you in every language spoken by our delegates, but in the interest of time, let me say from the bottom of my heart, merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur Morin. Okay, our opening ceremonies are coming to a conclusion. It's time to get into it. I'd like to now welcome to the stage Anthony Williams, who organized the program for this event. Many of you will know Anthony. He's a best-selling author of 2 books, including Wikinomics, Harnessing the Power of Mass Collaboration. And he's put together a spectacular program for you. Anthony, could you tell us about it, please?
Well, good morning, everybody. Fabulous to be here in Montreal. Thank you, Don, and all of my colleagues here for such articulate descriptions of, both the tremendous changes that the digital revolution has unleashed in our society. And I promise you that you'll be hearing a lot more over the course of the next 3 days about how the digital revolution has changed the way that we work, the way that we connect with friends and family, the way that we educate, inform, and entertain ourselves. We will be hearing about the critical role that digital technologies play in economic development. We understand today that 21% of all GDP growth in mature economies has been driven by the internet economy. That's from a recent McKinsey report, a testament to the growing role in innovation, technical development, education, and all of the critical services that the digital revolution provides. We also know that the digital revolution, and we'll be hearing in many different panels from our keynote speakers, how it is changing science, education, healthcare, from the way that we produce and consume energy through to the very nature of government and democracy. And to a large extent, we've seen much evidence of this already over the past 12 months. The youthful rebellions and revolutions that swept the Middle East and North Africa, to the rise of open source projects like Linux, and free repositories of knowledge like Wikipedia and TED, to open source, open science initiatives like Galaxy Zoo that Don mentioned earlier, where 275,000 citizen scientists are helping to identify galaxies, classify them, do incredible things that astronomers didn't even dream of just a decade ago, to a mobile technology revolution that is empowering billions of people to connect and collaborate in the global economy in ways that, again, were not possible even 5, 10 years ago. Now, as we have designed this program, we've thought deeply about trying to capture this spirit of innovation and try to touch on all of its many facets, as I mentioned, from science and education, healthcare, all of the key issues and industries that have been captured in some way. And I don't have an opportunity to talk about all of the individual segments of the program, all of the speakers, but I do want to raise just a couple of quick highlights. Later this morning, we have some of the world's most prominent thinkers on social media. We'll be talking about the impact of technology on politics, democracy, and government. This afternoon, we have the ministers from Canada, ministers of science, technology, commerce, and industry from Canada, from Malaysia, from Mexico, Nigeria, and Taiwan. Will be here to talk about their digital roadmaps and how they're addressing the challenges and opportunities of an increasingly digital world. Now, on Tuesday, we get into a whole series of very meaty challenges. Our panel on digital skills and the future of education. We'll talk about how we prepare our young people today, and indeed our entire workforce, for the jobs and industries of the future. Our panel on smart cities and planetary intelligence is gathering a group of very thoughtful, very talented entrepreneurs, public policy makers, and technologists to discuss how we make our urban centers more vibrant and deal with some of the challenges of rapid urbanization, from traffic congestion through to environmental pollution, crumbling infrastructure. There's much that digital technologies can do to help address some of those issues. Our panel on collaborative healthcare. I told my colleagues that probably the most stimulating conference call I've had in the past 12 months was with the group of people on the healthcare panel. I am truly excited about this panel because it's some of the most thoughtful people I've encountered on the future of healthcare delivery and medical research, talking about how we can design a healthcare system that is smarter, more effective, more efficient than the status quo. Everything from new models of patient care to new models of collaborative research. It's very exciting. Now, we also, of course, have an amazing cast of keynote speakers. Kim Stevenson, the Chief Information Officer of Intel, talking about a world where everyone and everything is connected. Wim Elfrink, the Chief Globalization Officer of Cisco, talking about the massive shifts in technology and demography and how that's changing the global economy. We have Tom Jenkins, the Chairman of OpenText. I believe Tom is in the room this morning. He'll be talking about big data, the future of the cloud, and the implications for competitiveness and innovation. We have Dr. Eric Brown, one of the leading scientists behind IBM's Watson project, talking about artificial intelligence. Many ministers from the Canadian government. You'll want to be here early on Wednesday morning for Tony Clement, the President of the Treasury Board in Canada, talking about Canada's open government strategy, and much, much more beyond that. Now, in just a moment, we have Clay Shirky, one of the leading minds on the impact of technology on politics and society and civic participation. And I just want to take this last opportunity to thank all of my colleagues that I've worked with over the past 12 months to bring this together. I want to make a special mention for Sabina Shamer, who has worked very industriously with me on the program and supporting my efforts. And I'd like to thank all of my speakers for agreeing to be here and for the many rich conversations that we've had over the past 12 months about the content and how we want to pitch this whole program together. And of course, to thank all of you for coming to Montreal. I hope you enjoy your time here, and I hope you enjoy the Congress. Thank you very much.